Hi there. So this morning I thought what I would do is actually deconstruct a deal that we have completed. And actually I'm going to do back-to-back videos. The first video is going to be how I did the deal, right? How I leveraged wholesalers, bird dogs, how I leveraged the 6 and 20 general contractors and ultimately exited the property. And then in the second video, which will follow this, I will share how an investor could use the BRRRR method: buy, repair, rent, refi, and ultimately hold the property long term. I thought this property sort of fit that mold and offers a lot of options. So again, we're going to do 2 videos. This first one is how I chose to process the property, and then the second one will be the same property, just perhaps done how an investor could have done it and actually held the property. So first off, it is a duplex, and this property came to me for $110,000. All right, this could have come from a wholesaler, it could come out of the MLS, could have come from a bird dog, whatever, right? So the price that's offered to me is 110 grand, right? If this was a wholesaler, maybe they locked it up for 90, but again, that doesn't matter, right? Whatever the assignment fee, whatever you're paying, that doesn't matter. What you need to think about is 110 grand, right? You could try to negotiate or whatever, but that's not what this is about. This is, I have an opportunity to buy a duplex for 110 grand. So what do we know about this property? Well, first off, I believed with my research and what I knew about the market that it was worth $200,000 ARV, after repair value. So how confident was I in the 200 number? Very. I know this market. I have other properties around it. Why would somebody sell a property for 110 that's worth 200? Well, again, the key is after repair value. This particular duplex was a 1-1-2-1 combination, meaning it was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, about 600 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, about almost 800, call it 780 square feet. It was vacant. The 1-bedroom, 1-bath was actually rather clean. Actually, you could even call updated, meaning it had laminate flooring, meaning it had a nice remodeled kitchen, meaning new cabinets, new countertop, and the like. The back unit, on the other hand, was a complete gut remodel. Right? Apparently, there was a kitchen fire at some point, and it took out the cabinetry and the like, and there was a little bit of damage to the ceiling. In the essence, what we found out is the owners were what you would call classic burned out landlords. They held it since about 2008, which is the peak. They had had enough. This was the only one they owned in the market. They got some insurance money, and they're like, get me out of this. They had it listed for about 150 grand for about a year and left it vacant this whole time. At which point they just finally gave up. It came to me via a contact. I agreed. They wanted 125. I said 100. We agreed on 110. So, whether again it's a wholesaler, bird dog, MLS, that doesn't matter. I locked up an asset at 110 that I thought was worth 200. So, questions, right? What did I think the repair value is? Because again, essentially one unit had to be completely remodeled. This is the estimate for repairs. And I felt pretty good about this $30,000. I had a general contractor I know go through it. The front unit needed about $2,000, mainly just cleaning because it had been vacant for about 9 months. Some fence work up front because the chain link fence had been broken up. Most of this $30,000 was in the kitchen in the back unit. We ended up doing a full remodel, meaning the new flooring, new bathroom, so take out the toilet, tub, plumbing, and new kitchen. And our estimate was $30,000. So I was into this property for 110, and then I was ready to commit $30,000. Right? So my all-in was 140 grand. Okay. Other questions you might ask: what would rent be? That's a fair question. I believe total rents can be right around 1,600. Let's call it 900 for the 2 and 700 for the 1. They did have garages. We were able to separate, have a front yard, backyard, so really felt like 2 different units. Roof was fine. New windows were already in, so it had a lot going for it. So how did I take this down? So again, I bought this for $110,000 with my cash. I then have private investors that I went out and then leveraged again through a second escrow situation and did my 6 and 20. So I then borrowed 110 grand, and that's a 6. So I borrowed $110,000. I agreed to pay someone 6% interest only during the term of the remodel and sale, which turns out to be $550. And then I offered up 20% of the net profit. Then what I do, again, this first video is about what I did. I went ahead and invested all of this. Right, so I got this back. This came back to me in about 3 weeks. I got the 110 back. Then I worked on the remodel. I was lucky enough to be in a situation where I paid the $30,000 in repair costs. This actually ended up being light. It ended up being $5,000 more. There were just things to the unit that we didn't see going in. One of them being that the next door neighbor ended up having a couple of large dogs. While there was a great fence between them, it didn't have privacy slats. So it was a very strong fence. There was really no fear, at least imminent fear, that the dogs would get through. However, I got annoyed at the barking dogs, and thus felt tenants would get annoyed with the barking dogs. So we spent almost $4 grand putting in a second chain link fence with privacy slats. Making it harder for the dogs to get through. Right now you have 2 strong fences, but most importantly, the privacy slats. So hopefully the barking would go down over time. So that was important to me. Didn't have to, right? This was all profit I lost, but again, something I do always is the right thing. And I was willing to spend a little extra on that. And then the extra $1,000 was just some cleaning and maintenance that we did going forward. So we ended up being in it for about $35,000 in repair. Then what we did is once it was filled, we went ahead and sold it. We ended up selling it for $195. Right? So we sold this to somebody who wanted a turnkey pride of ownership rental, right? Because now for $195, you have a completely remodeled 1-bedroom, 1-bath, renting for $700. You have a completely remodeled, brand new 2-1, renting for $900 or $1,600 rent. I believe they came in and put 30 or 40% down. They had 30-year fixed money. They are happy. So we net all of this out. Let's just say there was roughly $35,000 in profit because I had closing costs that I had to account for, holding costs, and ultimately when this was sold, the $110,000 was paid back to the private investor. They also got 20% of the profit, which for simple math, 20% of $35,000 is $7 grand. So they got the extra $7,000, and then we were left by getting back our $35,000 and then the $28,000 in profit. So again, the total hold time on this one for us was about 6 months. I think it was actually more like 5.5 months. How I look at this situation as the investor, they got a great return, right? They got 6% on their money, and then they got an extra $7,000. Over the course of 5 months, or let's say 6 months for easier math, what they got was over almost $11,000, right? So they got 10% on their money, but again, that's in 6 months. So if you annualize that, that's a 20% return. So they're really happy. Then if you look at what I got, right, we invested really about, let's call it 40 grand, because there's 30 here, 5 here, plus all the closing costs and all of that, 40 grand. And then I got the $28,000. So, on my money, I don't know what that is, 75%. And then if you annualize that, it was over 100%. So it was good for me. It was great for the investor who had no risk, right? They got a deed, they're on the note. My insurance names them as owner. But this is how the 6 and 20 program works for me. It's why the investor is secure. It's why I love creating pride of ownership. We helped a burned out landlord. We sold it for a very small discount for $5,000 less, just so they can have some more room in the game. And again, I think this worked out for everyone. So the wholesaler made some money. We helped a burned out landlord. We took care of somebody who's just sitting on cash. They got a great return in a very secure investment. We profited, obviously, and the system just works. So again, this is just how we did it. And what we're going to see in the next review is maybe how you could do it by taking almost nothing out of your pocket. Thank you.